and welcome to Rulebreaker. Today we're going to continue our coverage of the Prophecy of Kings expansion for Twilight Imperium by taking a deeper dive into the Yin Brotherhood and all of their new stuff that they've gotten in the expansion. We're mainly going to follow the contents from the expansion box, but we're also going to touch upon a couple of cards from the Twilight Imperium Codex. There's a link in the description of this video to what that is and how you can get it. But let's dive in and talk about the Yin Brotherhood. So these guys, they've gotten some fun stuff. We're going to take a look at the leaders and the Mech now. So we'll start with the agent. The agent is Brother Milor. Their commander is Brother Omar, and their hero is Daniel of the 10th. And he's the High Priest of Yin, and he looks like he's seen better days. And then the Mech is Moyen's Ashes. Okay, so let's take a look at Brother Milor there. He has the text: after a player's destroyer or cruiser are destroyed, you may exhaust this card. If you do, that player may place up to 2 fighters from the reinforcements in that unit's system. So that's directly links to their racial ability that you may remember from the Player's Guide video, which is Devotion here, which is after each space battle round you may destroy one of your cruisers or destroyers to produce 1 hit and assign it to one of your opponent's ships. So basically you choose where the damage goes. That's the good thing about doing that. Now you've got extra incentive to want to destroy your own ships, because you get to put 2 fighters in as well. And if you look at destroyers, for example, they hit on 9s, and fighters also hit on 9s, so it's not even that much of a drop in quality for ships, really. So really like this agent. It's really cool. It's a bit more of a hit compared to a cruiser, so maybe you want to build a bunch of these destroyers for a nice cheap cost of 1 and get them in there, so that's cool. The other part of that to keep in mind as well is that you can also combo that up with Impulse Core, which happens at the start of space combat. That's the difference, and your opponent and assign the damage, so you can kind of get a lot out of this, and you can do this in multiple times, so that's really cool. It is a once per turn action, so it's exhausted when you have done it, and you get it back next round. The other thing to just be aware of is that it says after a player's destroyer or cruiser is destroyed. You can do that for somebody else if you want. It's that player gets the fighters, so it's not like you can destroy someone's cruiser or destroyer and get 2 fighters for doing it. It has to be that player, the one who had the ship get destroyed. But it's almost always going to be you, okay? Maybe if you're friends with somebody and they're getting their butt kicked, you can give them a couple of fighters compensation in a round if you want to keep them going. So there is that option, but almost every time it's going to be yourself. Okay, and then the commander, Brother Omar here, the Spinner Devotee, he unlocks when you use your Indoctrination faction ability. And if you just flip this over and have a look at that, that is at the start of a ground combat, you may spend 2 influence to replace one of your opponent's participating infantry with 1 infantry from your reinforcements. So essentially turning one of your opponent's infantry into your own guys, brainwashing them, taking over, bringing them over to your side, turning them to the dark side. Recognize anybody there, and when you do that for the first time, you flip over your commander and it becomes the text here: this card satisfies a green technology prerequisite. You may produce 1 additional infantry for their cost. These additional units do not count against your production limit. So that's really good. Normally you get 2 infantry. Again, I'll show you, flip this over again. You get 2 infantry for 1 resource. And what this commander actually allows you to do is get 3 infantry for 1 cost, which is really good. And they love their infantry, and they turn other people's infantry into their own. So you're going to have loads and loads and loads of infantry units in this game now, thanks to this date. So the Yin even more now love infantry as a result of this. This green icon here is just the technology prerequisite thing, like for example you see it here on Yin Spinner, and it's one of the prereqs you need towards Yin Spinner if you haven't already got it, which is great. And it combos up well with it, giving you even more infantry as you go. So, you know, just wave after wave of your own men, which is pretty cool. The hero unlocks when you score 3 objectives, similar to everybody else, and when you've done that you flip it over and it becomes the Spinner Overdrive, which is an action. For each planet that contains any number of your infantry, either ready that planet or place an equal number of infantry from your reinforcements on that planet. Then purge this card. Wow, that's pretty good. Like, it feels to me like you're probably going to take readying the planets if you've got a lot of them, because you can more than likely get a lot of good stuff for that. But it's also essentially a way to double the amount of dudes you've got on every planet, which is absolutely mad, because they've already got this combo going with the infantry and they're probably the racial text at the same time, you know, like producing 3 for 1 resource each time, and then doubling that up, you become an absolutely unstoppable force when it comes to infantry. With these guys, really interesting. I think the ready to planet thing is really good, because if you've got a load of planets, you're like, particularly Darien, for example, is a 4/4 right off the bat, probably the best planet in the game, really. A total of 8, which is more than Mech Rex. You're probably going to want to ready your cards more so than get the infantry, because getting the infantry is something that you can do with the resources on the cards, plus have spares left over. But maybe you want to do it at a particular time when someone thinks they're about to attack you and you need to reinforce planets, so that's an option too. I think he's a really good hero. You do it once and then it's purged from the game, so you only get one chance to do it and then it's removed, so use it wisely, my friends. Moving on to the Mech Moyen's Ashes. It has a deploy ability which reads, when you use your indoctrination faction ability, you may spend 1 additional influence to replace your opponent's unit with a 1 mech instead of 1 infantry. So again, the thing we talked about a second ago, where you can turn somebody's infantry into one of yours, you can actually just spend an influence to turn it into a mech, making them that bit better. Other than that, it's a standard enough 2 cost 6 combat and sustain damage on the mech. Much better units than the infantry, and a nice complement to the waves and waves of infantry that you're going to have at your disposal as the Yin Brotherhood. So if you haven't guessed it, these guys love infantry. That's their main thing. It's multiplied here by a lot, and it's kicked into overdrive, so stick to the plan. Basically no mad changes to how they play since Prophecy of Kings came out, as far as I can see. We're just going to touch briefly on some stuff from the Twilight Imperium Codex, which is print and play expansion for Twilight Imperium that's available on the Fantasy Flight Games website. There's a link in the description to this video here for you to find out how to get it. One thing that they have done in that is they have upgraded the Yin Spinner, and they've given it this new version, the Yin Spinner Omega, which again amplifies the number of infantry you're going to get. Normally you get 1 infantry free when you do production. This one gives you 2, and that's pretty cool. It can also go into space areas where you have ships like carriers and anything with capacity, so that amplifies it even more and gives you more opportunities to invade other planets and do more things with them. So super cool update, and I think a really useful thing to have in the game. It levels the playing field a bit more. That's not the only thing they've gotten in the Codex, actually. They got 2 things. Their original promissory note's been replaced by the Omega version of it. So the original version was in player can't use faction abilities or faction technology during the tactical action. Don't think that really happened very much. It wasn't very enticing, and you weren't really inclined to give it out either. The new one, the Greyfire Mutagen Omega, reads, at the start of a ground combat against 2 or more ground forces that are not controlled by the Yin player, replace one of your opponent's infantry with 1 infantry from your reinforcements, then return this card to the Yin player. So this is something I see you giving out quite a lot as the Yin player, encouraging other players to fight, weakening people who you don't like, strengthening people who you do like. Very manipulative and very interesting promissory note that I think is going to get a lot more play than the basic one. So super cool addition in the Codex. Probably the best thing in the Codex, actually, when you think about it, for what it does to the playstyle for these guys. So again, highly recommend you get yourself one of these print and play copies of the Codex to add to the Yin's arsenal. So that is the Yin Brotherhood update. not rewriting history with these guys. They're very much still doing the infantry thing. They're just way better at it now. So for better or for worse, that makes them a force to be reckoned with in my eyes. I'm not sure if they've taken a leap into that like elite tier of factions with this, which I think it just makes them more effective at what they do, and they have a very special way of playing the game. Hurting themselves to hurt other people is their thing. Yeah, that's Yin. Not a lot more else to really say about them. Just produce a load of guys, really. Conquer planets, take over, convert everybody to your religion. And that is the Yin. That's it for this video. If you have played as the Yin Brotherhood in Prophecy of Kings, shout out in the comments. Let us know how you got on. If you've played against them, were they strong? Were they weak? Would love to know. Give us a session report if you can. And in the meantime, we'll be back with more videos very soon. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss any. And we will talk to you very soon. Good luck.